What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McAllister, and today, as always, recently, I've been joined by my beautiful bride, Dianne.
Yeah.
So, babe, let's just come out the gate hot. Let's just get vulnerable. Let's get raw. Let's get real. We got an amazing podcast talk for everybody today. But we want to start this off with some vulnerability right before we hit the camera. We were like, yo, let's talk about this. And so I think that's where just what separates us from so many other people is that we just keep it 100% open. Like, we're not afraid to hide anything or have any shame or regret about anything in the past because we've grown from those things. But the number one thing that I know every single person in this life wants is
Love.
love. We all want love.
Absolutely.
And it's why we turn to addictions, whether that's food or porn or substances or anything. We're searching for love. We wish we had love, whether that was from our parents growing up, whether that's from our spouse, whether that's from friends or the world or whatever that is.
Yeah.
We all just want love. And it's understandable because God is love.
Yeah.
You know, and so with the absence of love, what do you really have? And so at the end of the day, I understand why it is. But let's just keep it vulnerable and real. One of the things we were talking about was some things that kind of brought you and had you doing some things in your younger years. Because I don't want to say the absence of love, you had definitely had love in your life in certain aspects.
Yeah.
But you also had the absence.
Yeah. It was like the mix of both worlds. So I had my parents who I had a great example of marriage and a lot of love, but I also had my dad who moved away when I was really young. And so I had the absence of him being gone, and which made me probably search out. So in my younger years, in my teenage years, in my early 20s, in between when we were broken up and stuff too, where I was extremely promiscuous, looking for so much attention from men. And it was not a good thing. I mean, if I can go back and take it back, I would, but we can't live like that. So
Yeah, I mean, let's dive a little bit deeper into that because I know me personally, and this honestly wasn't by choice. I'm glad the way it happened because now it's really a part of my testimony. I was the shyest kid in my high school, all of that type of thing. And I didn't even kiss a girl until like a week or so after I graduated high school, right? And I'm not saying you're a loser if you're doing that or something, anything like that. That wasn't by my choice. Now, kind of because I didn't make any decisions that put me in the path of females or talk to them or anything like that. So it is by choice. But it was like, if I could have had the women, I would have. And I'm not saying that's a good thing because it's not. When you don't do things God's way, bad things happen.
right.
But so I didn't lose my virginity until I was like 17, still way too young. Just even saying that right now, it's like, dude, like, but at that time it felt old.
Right. Yeah.
Compared to so many other people in my life, like not my friends, but like I guess the outer sphere of people. And I remember, so you were my second girlfriend. I had already just turned 18 and you were like a senior in high school. And this is where we're just going to get real, right? Like by that time, I remember on the very first time we hung out, you were like, how many people you slept with? That was like one of your first questions you ever asked me. Like the
So
first
strange.
time that we hung out was like, how many people you ever slept with? And I was like, one. And I
was
asked you,
like 7.
no, you were at 6 at that time.
Oh, you would have been my 7th. Okay. Yeah.
I know. Which, thinking about it back now, you were 17 and you had already slept with 6 people.
That's so bad.
Like, and I know you started when you were 14.
14. Yes.
And so it's crazy to think back now that we have kids that are 16 and 13. And every now and then I bring that up as like a joke / reminder. Like, it's like, hey, our kids, because you were like, oh, we shouldn't let them do this, this, and this. And I always say, babe,
look what you were doing at that age.
You know?
And it's true, which is why I don't want that for them. So.
And so, but when we look back, it's like, yo, why are we sleeping with people at 14? One definitely should not be doing it. Nobody now is mature enough to be doing that and having the consequences of sleeping together.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use it this way if it was just a pleasurable thing. Slightly understandable because everybody, I guess, is searching for pleasure in life. There's so many different ways to find it. But it's dangerous because one, you could just get pregnant.
I could have been pregnant at 14.
Right. Wow. Or 2, dude, your self-worth, your confidence, the way people look at you is different.
Oh yeah.
I had a little bit, when you told me that, I initially lost some respect for you in certain ways. I think in my own mind, I was like, sweet, I'm getting laid. And another part of me, I was kind of like, she's kind of that girl, you
And
know?
rightfully so.
And so, I mean, I guess let's dive in. The whole point isn't this to throw you under the bus or anything like that. And
Yeah.
it's more just to get vulnerable and real
Yeah.
and talk about what was going on in your life with like the love, like you said, and you didn't, I guess the point is what you're saying is that, your dad left your life when what age did he move away?
I think I was around 7,
Right. So
I
about,
think.
so it's another 7 years
Yeah.
before, you were sexually active, but searching for,
Attention and
attention
love.
and love. Mm-hmm. I remember like another thing, like we're just going to throw you under the bus today. This is going to be to throw down under the bus. But like you got arrested for shoplifting at 12.
13. I was in 8th grade.
So like you're doing
Yeah.
these things, you're acting out, you're
Yeah.
searching for attention, you're trying to fit in,
Yeah.
because your sister wasn't setting a good example at that time. And so you were wanting to be liked, imagine by her and her friends. So you
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Probably that. And then just seeing other people and I really was seeking that attention 100%.
because it wasn't like you came from a family that was poor and you had no clothes, no nothing, and I'm never justify stealing, but
No.
what I'm saying, it wasn't like, dude, you were just without anything. Like you had things.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So the stealing was not a necessity, but you were doing it because the crowd you were hanging out with, and two, to be liked and fit in,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And what's crazy about this is we were talking about this earlier, is that we were circling it back, is like we didn't start putting the pieces together for you on that until we started getting older, and probably more in the past few years of like,
Yeah.
well, why were you that way? And I'm going to get into my things a little bit too, but we got some really high level tips for you coming up on how to really get love in life the right way.
Right.
But I guess what started highlighting for you those things, and what started uncovering those things of like, whoa, this is why I had those? Would you say it was that you had just never thought about it and just thought like, hey, I was just being dumb? Was it because you started developing a relationship with God and he starts revealing our like blemishes and convictions to us? Is it...
I think all the above. I think when I was that age, I didn't think about those things. I didn't think of the consequences of it. I didn't grow up in a faith-filled house, so I didn't have that conviction at that time. And I was just doing what everybody else is doing. We lived in a small town. There wasn't a lot to do. We were having fun. I was getting the attention I was seeking. And later in life, when I did start to grow a relationship with God, then I started feeling that conviction, like, wow, I can't believe I did those things. That is so not right. And I look at kids that were my age, or my age now, how do I say that? At their age, from when I was that age, when they were, 14 and stuff. And I look at kids now, and it mind boggles me to think that I was doing the things I was at that age. And it really started to convict me of seeing the things, my behaviors of what I was doing, and how I was seeking that attention, just wanting attention and wanting love and wanting to fit in, all those things. But I mean, it's just, it blows my mind now.
Yeah, what's crazy is what you said something a minute ago, and that really stuck out. You said you didn't come from a house that had faith.
Right.
Your mom and stepdad, amazing people.
Right.
Great-hearted people, not believers, and you can say what they want to say is that they do, but I don't, like, it would be on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 0.005.
Not practicing at all or anything.
And
if there was any belief,
luck.
it wasn't practicing. Yeah.
And there was nothing, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm not dogging them. That's just the facts of the thing.
Yeah, no, it didn't come out in our household at all.
So sometimes people say, well, it's hard, like, because you want to like give your kids this choice and opportunity, but you really got to be able to model it in the right way, not being like, kids, this is it, and you're going to hell, and you're doing this. Like, no, but model that fruit in your life, and also show them why. Teach from your examples. Like, do you know what age your mom started having sex at?
I actually don't.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And so these are conversations that were not had.
Right.
But the things that we've been done with our kids is we've been an open book.
Right.
100% open book.
Yeah. They may not know the age that I was, but they know that we did things at younger ages that we shouldn't have done.
But they're also 16 and 13. And as we're getting older, we'll be revealing more of that stuff because they're around us in our coaching and things. So they just hear us and we hear it and we don't hide anything.
Yeah.
But it's like we don't even talk about, like a lot of parents don't talk about that. But the problem with not setting the example in your household of what it really means to follow Christ, not be a believer, but follow him, these are the consequences.
Right.
And I'm not saying because your parents are believers that your kids won't have those. But the problem is that your chances are your parents aren't believers, they're not actual followers. And so that right there lowers the odds drastically if they're actually following God. Like they're practicing the Sabbath and they're telling you why. They're tithing, they're in the word daily, they have a strong community of friends around them, they're fasting, they're doing all of the things that we're supposed to be doing. We're witnessing, we're speaking the word of God, we're doing service to others. In those things, they're going to witness there's like 9 things. You're going to witness all those 9 things and you're going to be like, something's different. This is the fruit in your life. But when it's just like, well, I just kind of just a nice person, it's kind of like, well, there's no template to show you how to do it.
And even, even if I had that growing up and I had that template, even if I still was doing those things, I would have realized it earlier on in my life, I'm sure. Because, as you become an adult and you start to see the way people are living out their lives, then I would have realized it sooner, which I didn't realize that until, I don't know, a lot later than I should have.
But I think your convictions would have kicked in earlier too.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Even at a younger age, right? Like I had a little bit of the convictions at a younger age, probably more so than you.
Yeah.
Because my mom was a believer.
Yeah. So
but my mom was, and I would say she was definitely more so towards the follower, but not 100%. Like she wasn't taking Sabbaths.
Right.
She only could tithe like $1 because my dad controlled all the finances.
Right. And she never carried cash anyways.
And so, well, back then they had cash.
Huh?
Your
mom?
Yeah, probably a couple bucks, because it was only cash or checks back then, maybe credit cards.
That's true. People used to bring their checkbooks to church and write out checks more often.
And so she wasn't really doing it the full way.
Yeah.
She was a loving person. That's great. So she had a couple of the things, and so it bled over. But if my parents, because my parents had a horrible marriage, if they were modeling it, it would have sheltered me because I was searching for love as well, which is why I did drugs so early in my life. I think my first time I ever smoked weed, I think it was 14, but I didn't really start smoking until I think it was like later 15, early 16, and then it was just game on from there.
Yeah.
But I was 100% seeking attention from the cool kids and all of that. I wanted to fit in, even though I wasn't wanting to get high. I just wanted to fit in. I wasn't wanting to do those things. I wanted to fit in. I was seeking this love.
Yeah.
And then later on, after I had you in my life, amazing woman, and I knew it right away, but we broke up. I still, the whole time, just had I sought attention from other girls. Whether I was hooking up with them or not, I still was either flirting or trying to get attention and things like that. And then when we split up, of course, doing my own thing, sleeping with plenty of women and stuff like that, not bragging by that about anything.
Just facts.
But just searching for attention, and none of it ever filled it. So the conviction, if we had that from a little earlier, would have both prevented both of us from touching the stove as many times as we did.
Yeah.
Now God's working it all together for good.
Absolutely.
But it would have also prevented us and probably time collapsed it and had us understand him at an earlier, younger age and been able to take more territory earlier than we are now. But I don't want to beat a dead horse on this. And so guys, I want to get into the steps of how you actually get love in life. And so last week I was really thinking about this in so many different ways. And there's multiple models and templates that I teach on, and one of the biggest things that we coach on is marriage is just a direct reflection of yourself, and the biggest thing that we teach on is when Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, right? But the key words in that is to as you love yourself.
Right.
So then you're not only able to love as much as you love yourself, and if you don't really have that self-love, good luck of being able to really love deeply on these other people and really being able to be mentally sound or spiritually sound or physically sound or relationally sound with amazing people around you. You won't be able to because your self-love won't be there, and so you won't attract those type of people.
Right.
And your marriage will reflect that 100%. And so last week I was thinking, God's just been pouring out into me so much lately, and it's been a thankful for that. Part of that also has been because what's one of the spiritual disciplines, fasting, not only like right now I'm currently doing a food fast,
Right.
but on top of that, we're doing the no sex fast for 40 days. So we're going in.
Yeah.
Like we're giving God something to work with. He says this is a tool and we're actually using that tool. We're not
Yes.
like, well, but I have this spiritual relationship inside. I don't really feel like I need to. Cool. How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
It ain't working out for you.
Yeah.
Your marriage sucks. You're overweight. You hate your job. Your friends suck. All this stuff. And you're like, but I still feel like, no,
You have
stop.
to use all the outlets.
Yes. Do the things that God's told you can use. It's a template. Do these things and it will shine a light on those things in your life.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that I'm doing these things to brag. It sucks, certain things. You
It's
think that
hard.
I wanted to eat this morning. I want to have sex with my wife.
Yeah.
I've wanted to quit so many times at all these other things that we've done in our life, but I can't because I know how it feels.
Right.
And it took the first 39 years of my life to figure out a lot of that. With that being said, last week, God says, I said, here's the 4 things. And I was just ripping. And then God says, boom, 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 here, boom. And I was like, whoa. Remember that, what was that show, Blossom, where Joey was on it?
Yeah. Whoa. Whoa.
I never got into that show, but I remember that was like the
did.
dude's tagline. It was like the rappers we were talking about yesterday. These are the type of
Yeah.
conversations me and Dianne have. On the way back from the gym yesterday, I was like, babe, what's all the rappers with their taglines?
Yeah.
Like DMX had the barking, Master P had the Everybody had their one thing, like their
Yeah.
tagline that they
Yeah.
would do that you would know it was them.
That was Joey from Blossom. Whoa.
And so that's his, but he didn't rap. I think he actually did rap or sing or something too.
Yeah, he sung. I had his cassette.
Oh man, you probably had the hots for Joey.
He was cute. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, huh. Let's see how it is. I'll take a look at him now and see where he's at. Say like, "What's up, bro? What you looking like now?" Anyways, so the 4 things are this: that everybody needs, and if you have these, and you stick with them, and you continue growing by doing those 9 disciplines, plus like you can do some other ones like working out and things like that, but the 9 spiritual disciplines. You will put a force field around you that's so good, and you will attract, well, first and foremost, you have love from God, which he always loves you, but it's the same way if our kids are acting out. I'm not proud of them. Doesn't mean I love them less, but I will like honor them more when they are like kind of doing these things. And so you have love from God, you'll have love from yourself, and then you'll just attract love from everybody else. It's really cool. And so those 4 things are these. First, number 1, you need to have a deep relationship with God. So you could say that in another way. You need to be on fire for God.
Yes.
That means you desire. That's not just showing up to church on Sundays and reading your Bible from time to time when you see an Instagram post that somebody posts something and you kind of glance over it and you move. That's not being on fire for God. That's
No.
doing the bare minimum.
Oh, yeah.
And that's even if you're going to church on Sunday, bare minimum. So you need to have a deep relationship with God. And if you have a deep relationship with God, you will know his word so well, and he will be speaking to you so deeply. You will understand that he says in the Bible that you are chosen.
Yeah.
You're here for a specific reason, specific talents, traits, and all those type of things. And that right there, when you understand that you're a one of one, that there's nobody else like you, that he put you on earth to accomplish a specific mission. It's not just like, hey, do whatever you feel like. No, he has you for there. You'll understand that. That feels amazing because you were chosen by him.
You feel love.
Just like, because there's 8 billion people on this earth, well, then there's been billions through history that he says, you're here for this time and place, for such a time as this, on this earth right now. It'd be like just if you were imagine people who are on American Idol and they get chosen to go to the next round. They feel like amazing. That's just American Idol, and that's a small group of people. Imagine out of 8 billion right now, let alone billions ever, that you're chosen for this moment. You'd be, whoa, I'm chosen? So first, you have a deep relationship with God. You'll understand that you're chosen, and you'll figure out why that is. Secondly, that allows you to be authentic. And when you're authentic, you can just be you. Because being that you know you're chosen, you'll understand your traits, whether you're an amazing singer, whether you're funny, whether you have this conviction and compassion, whether you can speak, whether all these things, and you got to develop some of those talents along the way to get them better, but they're really, really there for you. You can just be yourself. You don't have to conform to what this world's telling to you to do. Fit in this box. Compare yourself to everybody. Be like everybody else. Don't be unique. Be in this box. And then you don't have to be that. And when you're authentic, it's freeing, and you're not worried about what anybody else thinks. And I'll tell you right now, that's what your spouse wants in life, and just anybody in life wants. They want somebody that's different. We don't want a cookie cutter model of everybody else.
No.
You don't want, it's like the same way when we watch movies, we don't want the same plot just with different actors.
No. How boring would life be if we were all like cookie cutter, exactly all the same?
Right. That's why remakes are never as good as the first.
Yes.
It's like,
the
dude,
original.
The original,
Yes.
great word, babe. Original is the best.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what we are. We're the original bird. So be your authentic self, unashamed, unapologetic, authentic self, and let it shine. Because that's what God needs you here to do. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're authentic and you have that, it gives you permission to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Men struggle with this one. Same with women. Women struggle with this one too.
True.
More men though, because we're told to suck it up and deal with it. We don't share. We don't know how, since nobody does. Then we've never been modeled it, and all of that thing. But when you're vulnerable, it's so freeing. You get all these feelings out.
Yeah, but how many people sit with it on their shoulders, like all that weight, their whole lives, just sitting there, not being vulnerable, not sharing the things, not expressing what they've gone through, not expressing the hurts they've had or anything.
They're hiding it.
Yes.
But then when you can shine a light on it, the Bible talks so much about this, putting a
Yes.
light in the darkness,
Yeah.
right? It really is like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
No.
I slept with 6 people, but I started sleeping with 6, 14. Like, I've become this, this, and this. But if we hide it and have all the shame and regret and guilt, then it's going to be a cancer in our life moving forward. You won't want to do courageous things. You won't see yourself as chosen. You won't have like all these other things that'll be blocking it. But if you get vulnerable and real, not only do you feel light and free, when you let it out, anybody who's had a deep secret and they let it out feels amazing.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get to heal, and you get to use it for good for somebody else who's going through it. So vulnerability. And when you're vulnerable, so if you have a deep relationship with God, you're authentic, then you're vulnerable. You know what that gets? It creates connection. And when I have connection with my spouse, like that allows me to have a deep connection.
Yes.
Most couples don't have a deep connection. They're married, they have sex, maybe, and they pay the bills and they've done that, and they don't have a deep, deep connection.
No, it's like surface level.
Because they're not vulnerable, they're really not their authentic self, and they don't have a deep relationship with God.
Right.
But when you have that connection, it feels like no other. And you know what a deep connection is? It's love.
Yeah.
It's love. And that's what a deep connection is. And so if you have that and you get, then it'll get you love. But without a deep connection, you won't have a real deep love. Without a deep connection, you can't get there if you're not vulnerable. It's going to be very hard for you to be vulnerable if you're not your authentic self.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll never be your authentic self if you don't know God. And let me tell you, people say, well, I'm authentic and I don't have a relationship with God. You're guessing who you are.
Right.
You don't know. What's the best way to know how to work something is to ask the creator.
Yeah.
You might be able to figure out certain things, but you might be missing a million features of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know how to use an iPhone, but guess what? I guarantee you there's more than 100 features on it that I'd have no idea how to use.
Yeah. But if you had the creator in front of you to ask or to show you them,
you would figure it out.
You would
and he's not
know.
just gonna be like, ba-ba, like
No.
he's gonna reveal another one and another one as you draw nearer and nearer and consistent.
or reading the Bible, which is a blueprint,
Right.
to show you those things.
You'll understand your authentic self.
Yes.
So you might understand some of them, but still it's a guessing game.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'll tell you the number one thing I hear from most people is that they don't know their purpose.
Yeah.
I can always go, okay, well, let's show me your faith life. Well, I was like, we just found the problem. And so with that being said, when you have a deep relationship with God, then you're authentic, then you're vulnerable, and then you have connection. Everything in life is possible. And I tell you right now, the reason why I have such high-level friends in my life is because of that.
Yes.
They trust me because they know I have a deep relationship with God, not a lukewarm one.
Yes.
So it attracts those high-level people in my life. 2, I'm authentically me,
Very,
and I'd rather
yeah.
be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not.
100%.
So people are like, yo, this is Tommy. And then I'm vulnerable. I'll come in right out the gate and tell you I've been a drug addict. I've been in military prison. I've cheated on my, not when we were married, but still cheated on you before.
Right.
I've been on, like I said, done all these terrible things. And I'll tell you that right out the gate, I care less.
Yeah.
It's not who I am anymore.
Absolutely
So I'm
not.
vulnerable, right? So, and then this builds connection. And because of that, that's why usually out the gate, I can just tell somebody who has those things after spending a few hours with them, or like a mastermind one day, what do I typically tell them by the end of the day? I love you.
Yeah.
You know who I don't tell I love you to very often? My dad.
Right.
You know what my dad doesn't have? Connection. You know my dad is not 0% vulnerable. You know who my dad really isn't? Is his authentic true self. And my dad has no relationship with God.
Yeah.
But I can't tell him I love him.
Right.
I
Because he doesn't
cannot
give
tell.
you that freeness to be able to do it because he doesn't have those things.
Yep. So it's crazy to think that the block between you and a parent, you and a spouse, you and other people, all comes down to this. It builds a wall, and those bricks have a name on them. Do they have a deep relationship with God? Are they authentic? Are they vulnerable? And do you allow for connection? Those are the bricks, and that's either on you or them.
Yeah,
If it's
or
on
both.
one of them, if it's on one or the other, there's going to be a wall. And you can remove that wall by just being those things, and that will get you love. I have more love in my life right now than I've ever had. Our love is deeper than it's ever been.
Yes.
Our love with our kids is growing tremendously right now. Our friendships are like getting deeper and deeper and deeper. All because, I'll be real, it took me a while to even get a deeper relationship with God.
Me
To
too.
feel comfortable with being authentic. The vulnerability one, I've gotten a lot better at, but I was always pretty vulnerable, but you've got even more.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, what? I don't need the connection, but all that stuff allows for it, and it feels amazing because it's authentic love.
Right. And it allows other people around us to do the same. So when we are all four of those things, and we're, speaking to somebody new or a friend or whatever, whoever it may be, then it opens them up to be able to do the same thing. We're asking them to do the same thing, and they're able to because we're so open and free and honest with them, with all of those things, that it allows them in to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And just that's how we can grow such close connections.
And that can show the fruit in God, right? Because if you come out the gate and somebody has that, and you are unashamed to talk about your relationship with God, not because you're forcing it down their throat, but man, dude, if you had if you were going to talk to a stranger or somebody else as a friend, but they're not really a believer, but take faith out of this. And I had this new supplement that I was taking that made me just feel amazing. Like I was like getting shredded too, but like just feeling amazing. Like all these things in my life were going there. I'm sleeping great. Man, I've never been making more money. I would want to tell everybody about it.
Yes.
And every single person would say, dude, tell me.
Right.
But the one thing that actually will do that and give you eternal life and doesn't make it so you don't need the money, that you don't need all those other things, they go, that we better not share that.
Right.
We tell ourselves,
Yeah.
and society tells us to not share that because it's going to offend. I know what it's done to my life. I've watched it, what it's done to your life. I'm going to share it because I know there is no other way.
If somebody's not ready to hear it, so be it. But what if they are and you didn't speak it, And so that's why it's so important to speak it, because it might be hitting the right person.
It's planting a seed, worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
And when we do that, good things happen. So, my guys, I want to encourage you today is about love. Like when you get that, good things happen. Most people are trying to get love by not being their authentic self. It's like when you're trying to get sex from your wife, you're usually not being authentic. You're like buying them things. You're like trying to, hey, you're being this corny Mr. Nice guy that's not your authentic self.
Right.
You're doing, you're doing chores and all of those things. Not that those are necessarily bad, but you're doing them as like this, hey, I'm just Mr. Nice guy.
Exactly.
And dude, nobody wants to have sex with that dude.
No.
And here's the thing. You're not authentic.
And it shows, and that's the other turn off away from it.
Right. Vulnerability is 1000% confidence. What's the number one thing women want in men?
Confidence.
So if you're not willing to get vulnerable, then you don't have confidence.
No.
Because it shows that you have a lot of fear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there's no confidence in that and holding it in. And so vulnerability looks different though for people. I want to clarify this. Vulnerability is not like me opening up to you and being like, babe, you know what? I got to be real with you. You've been really making me mad lately because you've been coming home late and then you've been leaving your crap all over this house and all that stuff. And I'll be real with you. I've talked to you about this before. It really bothers me. I was raised in a household where you had a cleanly house. And if you said you're going to do something, you do it on that time, and you need to start doing that. That's not being vulnerable. And it's what's really hurting my emotions, and it's really messing with me. And so that's why I've been off with you. That's not being vulnerable. You might take it as that.
Yeah.
Vulnerable is saying the exact same thing, but in a way is being like, babe, I'll be real with you. I don't know if you've noticed, but I felt like I've kind of been off recently. And it's tough because I think, I was raised in a specific way, and I have like all these presets in my mind. And so when like our house is out of order, like I'm having this internal struggle where like, and I'm not dogging you, I'm not saying you're like a slob or anything, but you kind of leave your stuff around, and my internal dialogue's telling me, dude, she's lazy or this, that, and the other, which I know is not the truth because I know you're a hard worker and you do all this stuff, and I know you're not intentionally doing that, but it does, and it's bothering me on the inside. And so I'm sorry, babe, like I don't know what's going on, but like I'm figuring that out. So now I've told you, in general, guys, I've told her my issues with what she's doing.
Right. But also taken ownership for your thoughts and feelings or your actions around it as well.
Explain why
Yes.
it's bothering me.
Exactly.
I did it in a tone of voice. Just be like, dude, I never knew it was bothering you. But if I just come out the gate and say, hey, you need to stop doing this.
Right. You're just pointing
like-
all the fingers and not getting vulnerable. That's just you showing the other person that you're not.
It was like that couple that we're working with. Whereas it's not, I guess it's not vulnerable, but it's communication in the presentation and how you do it, right? Their daughter broke their leg on a Sunday. And then on Monday, on Tuesday, so the daughter breaks the leg on a Sunday. Tuesday, he has a tattoo appointment planned.
Right.
She comes to him on Monday and says, hey, babe, I know you got this tattoo appointment tomorrow. Is there any way you could cancel and stay home and help out with the kids? It would really mean a lot to me because, with our daughter breaking her leg yesterday, this just really complicates the way we normally do things when you're not here. And he said, hey, I totally will. Now that you brought it to my attention, I was already thinking it, but that confirms it that I need to.
Right.
Totally will. She was stoked. The flip side to that could have been like,
You need to stay home because I have this going on, and
you need to cancel.
Yeah, you need to cancel your appointment and be here.
Said the exact same thing,
but a totally
different way.
Yeah, exactly. Delivery is everything on that.
So him in that moment could have been like, he has two choices. I cancel it and she just told me what to do, which is going to steal my masculinity. It's going to give her power in relationship. And believe me, that's not good. Nobody should be able to be the dictator in doing those.
Yeah.
So he's screwed if he does that. If he does the other one, says no, he's basically going to cause an argument, and then she's going to think it's all about him and he's selfish.
Right.
So if you just present it in the loving way,
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, what do you think about this? Yeah, you know what? You're right. Dude, that's what it is. And that's what the vulnerability as well. Now, if you're being vulnerable and all you do is sit in the corner and cry and just tell them, I'm a weak individual. I suck at life. Life hates me. Nothing goes my way.
That's because you don't have a relationship with God.
Right. Go look at your order there and see, do you have a deep relationship with God? No, because God would have shown you that he has plans for your life and all these other things. Not saying we don't get emotional and have these things, but you're just so much more strengthened. Ephesians 5 talks about putting on the armor of God, which is doing those 9 things a lot of times. And things and like that. So at the end of the day, it's about just sharing of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's confidence. So guys, I guess to wrap this up, have a deep relationship with God, be authentic, be vulnerable, and then get that connection, and that will give you the love. And what it'll really do is it'll have you have self-respect. Because if you have a deep relationship with God, you'll be enough in yourself because you'll get all the love that you need. You don't need it from anybody on this earth.
Yes.
And then 2, you'll be really, really proud of yourself. You'll have self-love because you're just being authentically who you are. You're not being somebody you're not. So then you can actually be proud of yourself. And when you're vulnerable, it'll feel free. So you'll release all that stuff. And then you'll have connection as well from other people. So it's just really a cool process of it. So guys, really put that to action. Really put it into play. And if you haven't, please like, comment, share, subscribe, rate this show. 5 stars. Come on now. We're really trying to grow it. Guys, really doing really cool things in our life, guys. We're going to bring big guests on it. I don't want to drop the name of who's coming up, but we booked literally our biggest guest. And this is everybody will know.
Yeah. It's exciting.
That's coming on the podcast here in 2 weeks. So I'm super excited about what God's doing in our life right now. But it happens from you guys being a part of this mission, and we're doing this together. Like, you guys liking and sharing and rating and things like that, it means the world to us. But you're also helping God out by doing it. I'm not trying to guilt you, but it is, because it's getting his things he's teaching us to be in front of bigger audiences,
Right.
rather than having people who have messages in the front of the audience that don't need to have their messages in front of
Right.
the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives God's word to the world.
Yeah. So if Taylor Swift has a big platform, we need to have a bigger platform to counter that evil on that stuff. So anyways, guys, much love. God bless you. Whatever you need. If you want to look for coaching as well, we have one-on-one coaching. I'll be real with you. It's a pretty steep investment, but go fill out the application. And if that's not for you, we have an entry-level program that's literally affordable for everybody, and we got mind-blowing results in there. Literally just testimonial after testimony. They're just rolling in daily. So come on in, guys. Let's change your lives.
Yeah.
So much love. God bless y'all.
Bye.